are you doing today? Welcome to another wonderful tea time. And so, let me bring up our awesome guests for today. Hold on, let me just grab them. Hello, hello, and welcome to our guests. Today we have with us Laird and Max. Laird, why don't you give us a little intro to yourself?
Hi, I'm Laird Cullen Drakmore. Laird is more my title. Cullen's actually my name. Since it's about Dungeons and Dragons, I've been playing since the first edition back in the started in the early '80s. I've been playing off and on till even current day. Really love 5e, and I know tonight's about Dungeons and Dragons. So let's have it. Let's hear some questions from the audience out there.
Excellent, excellent. And Max?
Hi, I'm Max Jenkins. I have been playing D&D and general tabletop stuff since 2010, when I was in high school. And I am currently on the D&D podcast, Welcome to the Bone Era. So would love to hear about anything you guys are curious about.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I know sometimes we show viewers and sometimes the viewers don't always show up. So,
Sure.
we're going to talk. We have wonderful things to talk about, and people, I know, actually go back for the tea time and stuff after on the VOD and
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
So, we are all
Cool.
for it. So, as most of you know, I'm Carol. I recently got back into like D&D and RPG, thanks to Max and some other friends. Our local friend, Dr. Oddfellow, kind of coerced me into joining the group.
Oh, I bet he really twisted your arm to have fun.
I guess that's one good thing about the pandemic is it gave me a little time to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, definitely. And we've done a variety. We've done D&D, we've done some homebrew, we've done some one-shots, and we've done some Star Trek. No, not Star Trek. Star Wars. You guys did the Star Trek.
I've done the Star Trek tabletop, and it is really interesting. But it is like a little weird. It's a little technical.
And I also did a beta test for a friend's own RPG game that they were building. So that was kind of interesting.
Sounds fun.
Do you guys are you normally players or DMs? A little bit of both?
Well, I used to DM all the time back in the '90s. The last year and a half, I've been just playing. I did run a brief game for a few months, but adult stuff, crept in, and people couldn't make it to the game and stuff. So eventually, it just kind of fell apart. But yeah, I had written a DC-based villains Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and it's never really gotten off the ground because the groups always fall apart. But no, I've been mostly a player. But for a long time, I was the DM. I like doing both.
All right, that's excellent. Max, what about you?
Yeah, I have DM'd a handful of times, like less than 5 times. I don't know the exact number because it's sort of my memory sucks. And I've enjoyed it, but it is a lot to keep track of, and my ADHD brain is not good at it. So I do want to keep trying. I do want to keep practicing at it, but my experience for the most part is in being a player.
Okay. So when it comes to, let's start with being a player. When it comes to being a player, do you go in knowing exactly the scenario that you're going to be playing in? Is it sometimes surprising?
It depends on what the DM has set up and what they want to offer you, or what they want to get out of the experience in terms of the characters and the setup and the world. Certainly, when we were starting with the podcast, we had some background information about the world, and we were given a set of questions as to who is your character, where do they come from, what is their motivation, yada yada, and that would then inform further play.
Okay.
So, can you repeat the question, please?
When you're starting with a new campaign, how much info are you usually given to base your character on?
Well, we usually are at game 0. We're given some information, but the games I've played in, the DM says pick whatever character you're going to be comfortable with. You're going to enjoy playing. He says if we don't have enough healers, I'll throw an NPC in, or there's always healing potions. So I think half the fun is watching it develop as you go. You really don't know what to expect. Like game 0, they basically told us, okay, you're going to be together on this island, and the island is full of undead, and the king wants you to get rid of the undead, but you're going to run into other things along the way. Now, we've been at this for over a year and a half, and we're just wrapping it up now. So there was a lot of extra things that came besides just defeating undead. We had to deal with doppelgangers and people cloning us, and also, like on a day, every morning after a long rest, touching the Vorpal sword to make sure that no one in the party was a doppelganger. Because at one point, I had missed a game session, and when I came back, I was told that I was taken prisoner, and I was in a cage.
Ooh.
And so I said, well, what about my invisible sword? Well, they took that too. I said, how could they take it if they can't see it? They said they searched you thoroughly. Well, it turns out by the end of that game night, it wasn't me. He had me play my doppelganger because they killed me. And then right after that, my real character comes strolling in like, hey, guys, what happened?
Oh, wow.
So I didn't even know till the end of that game session that I was playing the doppelganger.
Wow. That's
nice.
so cool.
Yeah, our
Nice.
DM's rather creative. He's been playing since he was 6. And
Wow.
I think he's 10 years younger than me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you have a character you find yourself gravitating towards? Or a class?
I usually play Rangers. they're the Swiss Army knife. They fit in just about anywhere. As I said off the air, they can do everybody's job. They just don't excel at it. So if one of the party members are missing, I can fill in for healer. I can fill in for range attacks. I can melee fight. In this group, I'm usually the guy going invisible and firing the bow at them.
Yeah, there's a lot of utility that I think people don't get in Rangers. I try to switch it up when I'm joining a new campaign if I'm trying like a different character that I haven't done before or a different class. But I think the best kind of character is an extension of or an exaggeration of your own personality. And so, like, I like to play clerics a lot just because I like the feeling of helping people. Obviously, that's not the case with the podcast that I'm on because I'm playing a big, brooding ex-pirate fighter. But that's just fun to, like, step out of my comfort zone and try something new, which I think is a great opportunity when you're role-playing, is just to try something different.
Yeah.
What you were saying about the playing a bit of yourself, it's always best to find a facet of your personality and just amplify that into a character.
I can kind of agree with that. Usually I end up playing something with a healer. Even my Star Wars one was a evil. what was I? A Night Sister? But who knew medicine?
Night Sister. Yeah.
Night Sister who knew medicine, yeah. Make of that
But
what you will.
As a cleric, you don't have to be a healer because those spells work backwards.
But
Because you can inflict wounds also.
But I noticed, like, even this in our current campaign, I'm a wizard, so not so much with the healing, more elemental magic, and yet I always have, before we set out on big missions, at least one one vial of greater healing for each of us in the party. Because it's not often it's, all right, let me use my movement to go shove this down their gullet.
There you go.
Somebody's got to.
I'm afraid to say this. I don't think our DM's listening. I have yet to use any of those vials on myself.
Okay. Well, hang on to at least one of them.
Never say that. I made the comment, that's 2 weeks in a row, my ranger, whose name is Varys is unharmed, and usually I'm the one who gets knocked in the dirt, and everyone else is like really low on HP. So the third week, I was the first one to take like a shitload of damage. Like, okay, all right, I should have kept my mouth shut. Invisible wasn't going to help because the monsters we were fighting had true sight. So I'm like, yep.
What's something, as you're learning, that the first time you got to do something just made you so excited? For me, because I finally got to play a wizard, like with the full magic stuff, that I just got to level 9, 10. So that's the highest I've ever gotten with a character in leveling. And so one of the things, I knew we were going to be fighting dragons. So I went and learned how to summon a dragon. Except we didn't tell the rest of the party until I pulled out this dragon. Until I pulled out this dragon. And, it felt good as the party's reaction. What's something that just made you feel like, yeah, I'm here to play?
I love those moments. Gosh, there's been a lot of those. Mostly it's related to like specific roleplay or story moments. Like when my character, who was missing an eye, got revenge on his former guardian, who was an abusive piece of shit his whole life, by taking his eye. So like that was a really cool moment, and I was really proud of that moment. But in terms of like in combat stuff, I don't know. There was one time we did kill the head of a cult in one turn. That was pretty cool. But that was on accident.
Along those lines, as far as like in your face to the big bad monster, we had to fight Krampus.
Oh,
and Krampus was a giant, and we, the DM's like, prepare for a beatdown. It's, tonight's going to be horrible. You guys probably won't live through it. Yada yada yada. The big buildup, and we won in 2 rounds. Varys weighs in, and we were fighting these giant gingerbread men, and I'm just rolling good. I ended up rolling 5 natural 20s that night. They're like, go play the lottery. And I'm just slicing left and right to the gingerbread men, which was supposed to be its minions. Well, when Krampus teleports in, he's like 15, 20 feet tall. So our wizard enlarged our barbarian, who's armed with a vorpal sword. And the Krampus had used the thorn whip and had gotten one of our players ensnared. Well, then it was the barbarian's turn to attack right after that, and she rolled a natural 20 on her first attack, taking its head off. And all of us go, oh, and the DM cries. He goes, no, I'll give it to you. He goes, we got to play by the rules. He goes, but oh my God, he had so much stuff planned, and we just ended it right there. But yeah, that's one of those stellar moments. You're like, yes, as a party member.
Togetherness. Teamwork.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But as a DM, for me, it was I had a player who was the rules lawyer, who I had to remind him every now and then. The rules can be bent, and as it says in the beginning of the DMG, at least the original one, that the rules are more or less a guideline, and what the DM says is correct. And had an opportunity that night to, not intentionally, but basically seek revenge, because his character was the party's cleric. But before he joined the game, I had an NPC cleric for the game, which was one of my characters, who they didn't realize was actually the heavy bad guy. So at this point, he had separated from the group, and every time he raised, or he said resurrected one of the party members, he actually turned them into zombies. And I would pull them to the side and go, your character's up, but you're under Dreed's control. But you're going to role play it as I tell you to role play it from now on. And so it only ended up being one of those because the other person that happened to actually left the game for other reasons. So this guy who's the rules lawyer goes into the camp to save the guy who's been turned into a zombie. And he sneaks into this camp, and there's just like skeletons and undead wandering all over the place. And he sneaks in, and he sees Dreed, who used to be a party member, and thinks that he's captive also. And he walks into the circle. He walks in, and he doesn't realize when he's talking to Dreed, all the undead are moving in and circling him. And he goes, come on, we got Tom, we got to get out of here. He goes, oh, no, I don't think that's going to happen. He goes, what do you mean? We got to get out of here. But look at all the undead. And he spins around and sees the circle. I go, oh, yes. By the way, he raises his hand and points to the undead, points to Reverend Grimlock. He goes, kill him. And the player looks at me and goes, what? I go, kill him. He's no longer of any use. And he literally looks at me. His mouth drops open. He goes, F me. And like Cleric walks away as all the undead starts moving in on him. Luckily for him, the rest of the party were on the fringes watching what's happening. And they managed to just barely get him out of there before he got killed.
Wow.
But yeah, as a DM, I'm like, oh, it's such a beautiful role-playing moment and watching the reaction of the players, just all their mouths drop open and go, what the heck? So our buddy was the bad guy all this time?
Wow.
Nice. Nice. Do you like when you know everything that's going on in the story as a player compared to as a character, or do you like getting surprises, like maybe the DM and you have sent some messages, surreptitiously or what, and plotted this out, and then like, oh, and da-da!
I think it's easy for a party to become fixated on a detail that a DM may just throw out casually, like, oh, his clothes are purple. Like, oh, what does that mean? What do you mean they're purple? Like, and it can be hard to move away from that when they get fixed on something. But I think it's good to try and see a puzzle in what they're trying to do or what they're trying to accomplish. So I think it's good to encourage that kind of problem solving. But even if it just means they're just purple, it doesn't mean anything.
Like what Max is saying, I love people who overthink, because as a DM, my favorite thing is to play mind games with the players. Because I've played with people before who said they've had bad DMs, that the DMs thinks that their job is to kill everyone off. It's just, but if I killed everyone off, what would be your motivation to come back next week?
Yeah.
I go, it should be fun. I go, so my version of fun is playing mind games with you guys. So this was a newer group also, and like Max said about the purple clothing. So I'm just going through, and it was a randomly put together dungeon I had done years ago. And I was like, we'll use this as a trial. And they happened to come to a door. I go, well, this one swings away from you instead of swinging towards you. Oh, they were stuck on that 10 minutes figuring for sure the crap, because this door doesn't move towards us, it swings away from us.
That's against building codes.
It opens away from you, not towards you. And 10 minutes going back and forth, and so finally the thief goes, oh, screw you guys, and just swings the door open. They're like all cringing. I go, and nothing happens. You see a dimly lit tunnel on the other side.
There you go.
She looks back at the rest of the party.
Just a door.
Wusses.
Well, I one time made our DM the one we were doing the beta test for. That DM was Andy, who was going to be part of this, but did not feel well, so feel better. And so you said about getting stuck on something, and my character was a professor. In 1940s, so, had to get through a lot of things to become a professor, female, in the 1940s. And it was Lovecraftian based, and So we're stuck in this creepy house that's like I'd already tried to eat my ankle and made
Oh.
one of them disappear, and they said this door has is designed, it looks like a face, and I go, has a face, huh? I want to ask the door a question. They were not prepared for that.
I cannot hear you.
But I'm like, you said it has something like a face. Yeah. I want to ask it a question. So it made me roll for it, see if I can. And like, here's these numbers. I'll only allow me like that'll actually, be a thing to ask a question. And guess what I rolled?
You
So
rolled an at 20.
Yeah, I got to ask 3 questions or 1 question of the house.
Wow.
But hey, you said it had something like a face. With it's tried to eat us and
Yeah.
everything at this point. It can't hurt. To ask the door
just
question.
gotta roll with that sometimes.
Yeah, my number one rule not number one rule, my number one thing I tell any DM is be prepared to ad lib. I says you can plan for weeks to do all this stuff and you have it all fleshed out, and the party turns right and walks away from everything you've planned out. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to make it up on the fly.
Yep.
How important do you think it is? A lot of people say about what the role playing rather than just the fighting standards of RPG, that you having some good improv skill is good, or storytelling skill. Do you think it's just the same or more important as a DM to have those kind of skills?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to think on your feet because, like you just said, this is something where you can plan everything from the length of the blade to the grass to how much drool is dripping from the orc's jaws, and they can walk the other way, and you have nothing the other way, and you just have to think of something that way.
Yeah, it's as a player and a DM, it's good to be creative. Some players enjoy the dungeon crawl, so to speak, just the battle. Other players really excel at role playing and becoming their characters. So it's a good game, I think, is a balance of both. You need some of that battle, you need some of the role playing, and you need people who as not just the DM but the players also to believe in their character and actually think like the character would. Just because you know something doesn't mean your character knows something, so you got to keep that in mind. And just because you failed at something, sometimes that makes the best stories than having it all go as planned. And it's some of the best storytelling after the games when everything went awry but you guys figured a way around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then sometimes the door to the jail won't open.
Yep. And you just got to move on or find a window.
Or get caught.
Or have a 10th level fighter, 1st level barbarian who likes to smash everything. And then he smash. Who has a big hammer that causes necrotic damage.
Ooh. There you go.
Yes.
That'll do it.
Happens to be my wife's character. And a half orc on top of it with a natural 20 strength with magic item 21 strength.
Wow.
So she tears up a lot of stuff.
So, to you, when you're setting up characters, especially, how important do you think, the ability to speak between player and DM? How much does that come into play? Like, we're working on a new campaign, and I know I have already messaged my DM a bit like, this thing exists and this would be so in character. Can I? Was this possible? How can we do this? And yes, I might have a weapon that I'm very excited about. But like, how important is that in setting things up to have a good relationship?
Now, are you talking about setting up before games, things that you want during game? I'm a little sketchy on the question.
How good is it to have a good working relationship with your party and your DM in general? And then for setting things up, and then when you play.
Ideally, you're all friends to begin with. and you just have a good rapport regardless of your role in the situation. Because I think having a session where you're doing nothing, you just hanging out, and like playing a board game that's not at all related to what you're setting up, I think that's critical because that's a good icebreaker that will uh, sort of keep things loosey goosey and let you really get to know them before you start playing with them.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. You get that time to gel. That's one of the reasons why game zero sessions are important. It gets everyone a chance to know each other. You get a chance to find out what the other people are playing, so you can figure out how each of you fit into, the group mentality and what role your character is going to be playing, along with getting some info from the DM. And yeah, it's that whole bonding session. So game zeros
Mm-hmm.
are very important for a new game.
Yep.
For those that are unfamiliar, how would you best describe what's the best game zero for those who aren't familiar with that idea? Be it, well, let's do a game zero in person and online since we're still dealing with the world
I
as it
think
is.
um, I think if you're doing just hanging out together in person, Jackbox is a good thing to break the ice because you're all laughing and you're just hanging out and having a good time. In terms of remote, I don't know. I couldn't say for sure.
Well, I've been playing remote for a year and a half, and Game Zero was still the same thing. We all just, BS, talked about what our character was going to be, a little bit about their background, um, what our motivations were, and the group I'm playing with, we all know each other. We are all actually cosplayers,
Oh.
and oh yeah, the whole group is cosplayers. The DM's a cosplayer as well. Um, so I was decent friends with the majority of them. Some of my There's a couple of them I didn't know at all before the game, but yeah, we like you say, we all found basically the pecking order for our characters and where we fit in. And I have to say, as a group, the dynamic works pretty well, and they role play pretty well because, like, my wife's character does not like our wizard, who's cocky or whatever, but still won't let him die. But she wants to kill him. In her mind,
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah,
only one who gets to kill him.
yeah.
It's partially my character's fault because her character, my character are married. It's this weird thing,
Mm.
and my character is got a sweet tooth and likes bakery goods. So after we killed the Patch Master, which is this big pumpkin monster on Halloween, I turned it into pumpkin brownies and
Ooh.
passed them out to the party. And every time you ate one, you had to roll a D100 to find out what happened, and a D4 to find out how many days that effect happened.
Oh gosh.
We've had a whole myriad of things happen. In this case, the wizard ate one and thought that I was his mortal enemy. So during battles, he would try to kill me. He backstabbed me at one point.
Oh geez.
So my wife's character, who is one of the main grunts of the game, is like, oh no, nobody kills Pretty Elf. The cleric druid got involved and turned into a big snake and wrapped the wizard in his coils. Meanwhile, we're still trying to fight the undead while the party members trying to take me out.
Mhm.
This went on for 3 game days.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So from that point on, Minnie decided she doesn't like Ozzy, but we need Ozzy, so she won't kill him.
That's fair.
We have an Aussie too.
Ozzy Mendes.
Oswellian, I think.
Yes,
Is.
Aussian.
Ozian.
Ozzy Mendes is a high elf wizard. He's very powerful, ice wizzy, but yeah, he's got an attitude.
Our,
Different than everyone else.
our guy is a paladin from the sea, so you know.
He takes his role very seriously.
Indeed.
He's no fun at parties.
Yeah,
Did
Ozzy's like our Ozzy's kind of like that too. Every time you bring him in any social interaction, especially if there's more wealthy people involved, he introduces himself with like 7 or 8 different titles.
Sounds like a wizard.
Yes.
Wait, my wizard doesn't have that many titles.
I
Oh,
know.
but
Although she just became a
Oh.
duchess because we
I
killed the
know.
duke, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could add that to your list.
it doesn't have to be an official title. Like he says, friend to the great wizard Nandor. beholden to Creve Cruel, and all these various things that he adds to his introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that would be like a gleaming moment from his past is added to his introduction.
I can now control a dragon. Too, apparently.
I mean, you've got that going for you.
So you'd introduce yourself as controller or trainer of dragons.
There you go.
Hello, Nitchick. Hello, Stay Nerdy. Good to see you guys in chat.
Howdy.
Nitchick says, haha, that sounds like her, I think, to the pumpkin and stuff. And the not letting him die.
Yep.
Nope, if you're going to die, I'm going to kill you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we're basically fighting Waterdeep right now without the castle. We're on the ground.
Okay. We
pulled in every friendly that we've met in the game because we're at the very end of the game. We decided we're going to defeat the Demigorgon, the Demigorgon, this vampire, various fire elementals, and this guy that used to be a player character in a different game that's come back as some kind of a demon, and we killed off, I think, 2 or 3 Death Knights.
Wow.
And it's not over yet.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Have fun with that.
Oh yeah, we lost the NPC paladin that was married to our barbarian.
No.
We lost half the 7 dwarves.
Oh,
And it's funny.
gosh.
There's the 7 dwarves, and they're all rowdy, and they are all very good fighters, and half of them been killed off.
Oh,
Oh,
that's so sad.
Oh yeah, no, it's an interesting game. Very weird, but in a fun way.
Love that.
Stay Nerdy says, sorry I had to miss combo. How goes things? And Nitchick says, to the only I can kill him. Because yes, I can see you're doing that in real life even.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like my wife.
Meanwhile, in our campaign, we fought Strahd.
Mm-hmm. That was fun.
And killed him.
He almost made me his thrall. It was scary.
Then we found out our bard is actually the child of a chromatic dragon.
Interesting.
And thus I brought out the dragon, so we're coming to our big fight, our finale fight against the dragon.
Bye, Dad. Stop.
That ought to be fun.
Dad wants our bard, who is played by Max, to, rule with me at my side. It's like, Dad, you're killing people, but you can rule.
Your way of ruling is very murdery, and I want no part in it.
Including killing off one of our bard's mothers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he raised our farm town to the ground. We're not on speaking terms.
We found out that our cleric halfling is now the king of the island that we were trying to defend, because the king and queen got killed, and they found out that he has lineage, and that he is now the king of the island.
That's cool.
And then we found out that our changeling sorcerer was related to some of the Death Knights.
Oops.
I like, though, how most of our company, when we found out who our bard's father is, all look kind of like equivalent of, looked at the bard like, can you shapeshift like that?
Not that I know.
This is new, but that brings up a question. So some of the storyline, if you have watched Legend of Vox Machina, is a little familiar. But our DM had not watched the first season or whatever of Critical Role and everything. So they came up with this out of their own brain, but there's some of it that's going like, dang it, this is familiar. Yeah. So at what point is it, it's like with writing or any other creative endeavor, when are you rehashing something that's been seen, or how do you take something like, if you did see that or watch it or somebody else's campaign, like, oh, that's interesting, but how do I make it this, or at what point do you like borrow or not borrow, and do you try to make it your own?
I think with this stuff, most of it's a very personalized experience, so that's not always something you need to worry about. Especially if it's like you're not even aware that you're unintentionally copying or whatever this story. I think as long as you're having a good time and your players are having a good time, whatever.
There was I can't remember who it was. It was one of the famous D&D guys. I want to say it was Matt Mercer, but I don't think it was Matt Mercer. Said there's only so many stories to tell,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody basically steals from everybody. Everyone's influenced by ideas that they've seen or read or whatever, and thought it would be
Mm-hmm.
cool. And so do what you want. Don't plagiarize. But if you see something somewhere else that you think would be great for a game or great in your game, go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
I know when I was DMing, I had read a couple of novels that I really enjoyed and thought they would be cool to incorporate parts of those into my D&D game, which I had done. Um, and one of them was the Book of Swords, and there was another novel called The Master of Glass. And I incorporated some of the nuances and the magic items from those books
That's
into
cool.
my game, into a homebrew. Because when I DM'd, I just homebrewed because I will admit that I'm a poor reader, always have been, and I'm always been somebody who multitasks. If I sit down to read something, even if I'm really interested in it, 3-4 pages I'm asleep because I'm not moving. So I do a lot of my own writing and a lot of homebrew. All the books are basically used as um, research material. Okay, I need to look this up. What does this do? What does that do? And I'll read that chunk. So, but yeah, it's there's use your creativity. If you're influenced by something and you think it'll make a good game material, and you think your players will enjoy it, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Stay Nerdy mentioned, I agree, without copying fully. Borrowing from other things is very beneficial, and as story
Yes.
creators, we borrow from so much as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's always great to be inspired by stuff that you like, and you can, I think, very easily incorporate that into your game if you're careful.
Oh yeah.
So, what are some. So, one of the tropes is you never split the party. But sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
party gets split, either because there's a lot to do, like you have this whole town, and or, well, the one person is now the Duchess and one person is this, and well, I need new armor because mine just got boiled to death, by the
Uh-huh.
thingamajig back there with lava breath.
Shopping day.
Yeah.
Yeah, shopping
So,
episode.
how do you handle when you have to split the party as a DM? Like, making sure there's enough going on, but also as a player, do you ever, like, lose interest, or do you always still find it interesting when, all the attention's not put on you?
I think it's good if, as a player, to give yourself a project. Like if you don't have anything specific going on within the story, just like go visit a temple or do something to just keep your character busy, or whatever your character would do with some extra time on their hands. As a DM, ideally you don't want to split the party, but if they're just running errands, you can just sort of accommodate that. Um, Ideally, if you know the party is going to be splitting up and you know who's going where, you can then build encounters around that. But that's not always something that you are able to do on the fly. It's very hard. So,
Okay.
I agree with that. As a DM, when the party splits, you got to try to kind of split the time between the groups, so everyone's not just sitting at the table watching the other group play. So it's
mhm.
like we'll do a bit with this group and then go over here to this group, and I usually try to find kind of like a cliffhanger moment to leave the group off so they stay riveted and paying attention until you get back to them. And
Mhm.
if you do have a good group, even though it's split, the others will pay attention because they want to get to see what happens with those
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
so they know how to react to it when they do come back. As a
Mhm.
player, it's like, yeah, I just what I said right there. I try to pay attention to what's going on with the other group because it's part of the total story of the game.
Yep.
It's like if you're watching a movie and your favorite character is not on, they're showing the sub characters. You don't like get up and leave and wait for your character to come back. You keep watching the movie.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, Stay Nerdy says, or you decide to split the group in a horror game, looks at Carol. And Nidchik, never split the party. That way lies death. That is how poor Fidget died. Speaking of Fidget, what are some of your favorite tropes about RP role-playing? And do you utilize them?
I love found family. I have a total weakness for found family. Like this group that I'm in right now, we're a lot of like very, I don't want to say broken people, but incomplete people, and we just love that our group has come together to save the world, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna be family along the way, and it's gonna be great. I'm a huge sucker for found family.
Well, along with what Max said, the broken people. I have yet to see a role-playing character that came from a supportive, well-constructed family household. They all have some kind of horrible past. They all have something they're hiding from, or they were tortured as a child. Or in my Ranger's case, he was a half elf, so the elves didn't want him, the humans didn't want him. He was taken in by some woman in the woods who raised him until he was like a teen, and then goblins ate her.
Oh God!
So he went on a whole Anakin Skywalker thing and found the goblins and slaughtered every last one of them. So to this day, he detests goblins and will kill them on sight.
Wow.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, you see a lot of, as far as the trope goes, all the broken history.
Well, we have one character too with that broken history. Like, you think, the character-wise, they grew up in wealth and everything, and like, you should be happy, but they ran away and became a thief because they didn't want to go to 500 debutante balls, and
Sure, and everyone's definition of broken is different.
What are some other good tropes? And also for the those who are adding along in the chat, if you have any questions, let us know. Stay nerdy. I'm big into the unknown, the path being a struggle and unclear with where we're going.
Sure.
And does anybody else have that song now into their head, Into the Unknown?
Yes.
No. I have one thing stuck in my head, and I hate my wife for it, because she played a bard that played kazoo. And she found kazoo music gift of the final countdown. So every time she did her bard thing, it was the final countdown on kazoo.
Max, we need that for next week.
Game. It was very irritating.
Oh my God.
Max, you need that for next week.
I will do that next week, I promise.
Oh, it's out there. You can find a audio clip of, it's like a whole bunch of people on kazoo playing Final Countdown.
Okay.
Max plays a bard that plays a kazoo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best thing ever. I love it.
It's an easy instrument to carry around. You can put it in your pocket. That's okay. Just completely the opposite direction. In this once a month game I play a bard who's a werebear tiefling who has a battle axe banjo. So the banjo is his weapon and his instrument, but he also plays guitar. And he's told the group, says, if I'm on stage and you see me switch from guitar to banjo, shit gonna go down, because sometimes I have to play bouncer too.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And the GM's like, yeah, I'll go with that. And she actually even photoshopped the banjo with two big great axe heads on either side of it.
Nice.
Cool.
What's some advice you would give someone who thinks, what is this D&D thing? Or like, my buddies keep talking about this. They want me to play. What do I do?
You have nothing to lose by not trying it, I think. That was basically how I started in high school. Was my friends were doing this once a week thing, and I just thought, and I didn't have any clubs at the time, so I figured, all right, it's an opportunity to hang out with my friends. And then I went there and I made more friends, and it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, D&D is a great social outlet. I have one friend who's really against it, and it's like, okay, I says I would love to get him at least come and hang out and watch, because I says, best to describe it to somebody. It says, It's a story that you have control of the main character for, and the story develops based on your decisions. And besides that, just hanging out with the people and having a good time. And I don't know if it's just the games I was involved in. Never been totally 100% serious. There's always a lot of laughs, a lot of weird, funny stuff. So it's like, yeah, come and have a good time, hang out, watch. I bet you'll enjoy it and want to get involved.
Yeah.
We hooked my daughter-in-law like that way because she was like, "Oh, I just want to watch." So next thing you know, she's playing.
Especially if you're into fantasy, I think if you love fantasy and you love just that whole process of questing and adventuring, I think you would enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I haven't done with the dice per se as much until recently. I mean, back in the day, I used to be big time with email RPG and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So storytelling. So that's in a way what this is. You're just kind of doing it out loud. And what do you think about doing like if somebody wants to check out the game or see if they want to, like a guest star for a session or two? Would you work with someone to come up with a character just to plop them in, and then maybe they want to continue or not, or they just like, hey, I'm visiting from out of town, this sounds awesome, can I chime in? Since I'll be,
Absolutely. I think there's always room for more people to hang out, even if it makes combat a little more complicated. I think it's fun to add more people just for one or two times.
I encourage that. Our game we've been playing for a year and a half, we've had several guest appearances where, the DM will find out ahead of time that someone can't make it next week or whatever, so he talks to his other D&D friends and says, hey, you want to take a character and sit in for a session or two to help fill in so the party doesn't get killed? We have one of those right now.
Cool.
Stay nerdy, yes, I think it's very important to work with them. I like to have a character or two on hand for someone to step in with. Okay. Are you big on leaving things on cliffhangers from session to session?
It's great when you can. You sort of have to have a rhythm to the story, and I think trying to find that can be challenging. But yes, I think once you get the hang of it, that can be a really fun trick.
Yeah, ending the session on a cliffhanger is always the best. Like say we play via Zoom every week, so it's more of a time constraint, and our DM will always watch the time because between 9:30 and 10, he looks for a point where it would be a good point to leave off. Usually it's a cliffhanger, but for the last 3 game sessions, it's been this battle that I talked about that I thought was only going to be 2 game sessions, and I think we got another 2 game sessions left of it.
Okay. All right. So a lot of these have dice, and some like the Star Wars and some others have specific dice for certain things. How much do you love your dice, and what goes into finding the right dice?
Oh my God.
Dice are an addiction. Once you get one set, it's hard to stop.
It's funny you say that. I'm sitting here and I have most of my dice near me because this is the table that I've been playing D&D from. This room I basically put together so I can play virtual D&D from. And I'm sitting here and I have at least 15 sets of dice here with me. And I have more in another room. So I'm quite the dice goblin, as we're called.
I've got the big Critical Role bag at my feet here.
Yes, yeah, I make foam dice towers, and I love the foam dice towers because it's made out of EVA foam. You get more action. It's impossible to cheat roll with these things because being rubber, the dice bounce on them, and they'll hold up to the metal dice even without any harm.
That's good.
So I take out my favorite 20-siders every night, which is I have about a dozen of them in front of me, and I test roll them before we start playing. And if they roll crap, they get kicked to the side. And I'm like, no, I'm using these dice tonight because those sucked. And that doesn't always work though, but I do it on a regular basis.
Nitchicks like Click Clack, Math Rocks, and I had way too much fun playing with the Dice Tower at Con back in November. Lair did bring his
Oh, the TARDIS.
TARDIS-shaped Dice Tower and taught folks how to make one. So you never
I
know
have
what might happen at Con.
I have one of those left. They sold on. I was surprised they didn't sold at TARDIS, but they sold on my Etsy store. I have one left.
Nice. Stay Nerdy has a question. Outside of D&D, what TTRPG do you enjoy playing or running a campaign in?
Gosh. The Star Wars one that we played, I really enjoyed. I like that the dice rolls were more involved in how the story developed. I thought that was really cool. I'm trying to learn the Cortex system right now because I have the Supernatural tabletop RPG, and I'm trying to, and it runs on that system, so I'm trying to learn that before I try running it because I have no idea how it works.
See, I'm pretty much a Dungeons and Dragons guy, but I have played other RPGs. I played Mech Warrior for a little while. I love Mech Warrior tabletop, but as far as the RPG goes, it's kind of slow. But I will take you way back in time to Dungeons and Dragons 2.0. The company came out with Wizards of the Coast at the time came out with a game called Mutants or Gamma World, which is basically mutants and monsters. So it was futuristic, post-apocalyptic settings where you can be a pure strain human or be a mutated animal, or there was like 4 different classes, and it was fun. It was like a whole sci-fi setting instead of the medieval settings. But it didn't make it. I've got the beginner set in a couple of the modules, but the game never caught on.
Do you feel like things, speaking of sci-fi and fantasy, like, is it like things like Artificer become more steampunk and such these days? Like, do you feel like there's still a change?
Well, Eberron has got a decent amount of popularity, and that's where I'm playing on my once a month game. And I saw they just re-released Spelljammer. And Spelljammer, if you haven't
That
seen,
is so cool.
yes, that might as well be steampunk. You're in flying ships.
Yeah. I think if your imagination can do it, you can do it. You have this system of rolling, and you can pretty much adapt it to your needs. And I think really the setting is negligible in that sort of situation. And I think really I love that Artificers really becoming a more popular class, because I think it's so cool that people are coming into this with like, okay, but how would this work in this setting, or how would this work? It's great that people are learning to sort of play around with it.
That's kind of what I'm doing in our next campaign.
If you're gonna play an artificer,
Yeah, I'm a mad scientist.
Nice.
oh, you want to be a true mad scientist? And I researched it. It was almost my new character for the next campaign is artificer/warlock.
Ooh, yeah.
At level 2, you can become a god killer with the help of a friend.
Oh,
D&D Shorts did a little thing on that because one level of artificer, one level of warlock, and you can create things basically where you have where the artificer can make magic items and make 2 bags of holding, and the warlock can make these needles that do tattoos, and the tattoo casts a spell of Find Familiar. So he says, so you put the tattoo on a friend, you give a friend a bag of holding, you make yourself a bag of holding, you put a tattoo on yourself. So you're going to have to wait a couple days to do this because you have to have a couple long rests in there. He says, but what you do is you can take out an ancient red dragon. He says both tattoos call up hawks. Each hawk gets a bag of holding. One hawk carries the bag of holding rolled up in its talons. The other one carries the bag of holding open. And you have it fly within 40 feet, I think it is, of the ancient red dragon. And once that happens, you have Hawk V fly inside the open bag of holding, carrying the other bag of holding. It automatically basically opens a black hole, and anything within, I think, 60 feet is automatically sucked in with no saving throw.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a whole little science project. You talk about mad science. There you go. You can be a
I,
god killer.
I thought it was just cool that I was doing with. I think I was going alchemy and engineering.
Uh,
That'll
well,
work.
like I say, throw a level of warlock in there. Look at all the fun you can have.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Stay Nerdy says his top new favorites are Kids on Bikes and Call of Cthulhu. Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu is fun. I do enjoy that.
I don't think I played that one.
Yeah.
I've been told I should, though.
A little old school, but I do enjoy it. And not a lot of people running it.
I've heard of it and never played it.
I've been told I should play it, but I've also never had anybody who had it and wanted to play it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. What do you think of the fact that tabletop RPGs stay nerdy? I'll gladly run a campaign in it for people.
Okay.
What do you think about the fact that tabletop RPGs can open doors in gameplay in a lot of things? Like I said, we have the Star Trek, Star Wars, steampunk, like so many supernatural, that it opens up so many things for so many different fandoms. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing? Makes it more interesting, like...
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a pre-existing setting and you want to set a game in it, I'd say power to you. The issue then just becomes the licensing.
Well, if you're not selling it, you can do whatever you want.
That's true.
As long as you're not making money on it.
Yeah, I think, again, if you're just this system, D&D in particular, I think is so immutable that you can pretty much just tell whatever kind of story you want with it. It can take place in the Firefly universe or Star Trek universe or Cowboys and Indians universe, whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want.
See, I also came from the era where people are like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, that's evil. You're teaching Satan worship and stuff. Like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
And my older boys who are in their mid and early 30s now, I taught them to play when they were younger. And my mother's like, that's terrible. Why are you teaching them to play Dungeons and Dragons? I go, you know how much education's involved? I go, you're constantly doing math. I go, there's a lot of history. There's a ton of reading. I says, it's very educational. I says, it gets them a jump on life skills by doing
Collaborative
something
problem
that's fun.
solving.
Yeah, problem solving, social interaction, working as a group, history, and lots of math.
So many math.
Yeah.
It's a lot more math than you realize. Than
Used to
people
drive
think.
my buddy nuts because he would use a calculator and I'd be adding it up in my head and I was faster than he was. I go, numbers are my thing, man. They make sense. Just don't ask me to spell anything.
Nitchick, I still want to play some of the Doctor Who RPG. I have the whole set of books pretty much, and some physical and all digital. Oh, and Stay Nerdy's like, we should talk. I've been designing to run a campaign for people.
Ooh.
Doctor
Sounds like
Who.
fun.
Yes.
I'll play if I can be a Cyberman.
Wait, I think you already have that role played out.
I can put my autographed hat on.
Well, Nitchick, I'm sure we can arrange that. Well, you mentioned you taught your sons. Do you think that RPGs, we've said about friends getting together, but what about as a family game? Family game night
definitely.
or continuing? Is it something family can get into?
Oh yeah.
My son
We've had
and my-
family game nights here.
Yeah, my son comes over with his wife, and my youngest son, who's 14, he plays, and my wife plays, and sometimes my son brings his one buddy with, and I'm all for it. It's a good family event.
And what about... I've seen it at some conventions, but not all. Do you think this is something that should be maybe open tournaments and stuff at conventions? Like maybe those one-offs or something?
You
Yeah.
have heard of Gen Con, haven't you?
I said some conventions, not all,
Yes, yeah, Gen Con's all gaming.
because I
But
know
yeah,
TARDIS has some role play. I think ASIN does. I'm not sure if C2E2 does and stuff. So, and Fan Expo doesn't.
I think C2E2 was trying to run a gaming area, but the last C2E2 was kind of a throw together. It wasn't a real C2E2.
Yeah.
It was more of a placeholder so they wouldn't lose their spot at the McCormick place.
Don't blame them. But
Well, you know what my wife does, so we got kind of an inside track on what they're doing.
it's also something I was debating on because of stuff I do otherwise too.
Yeah.
Ooh, Aaron says Dragon Con does have role.
Okay.
So do
Oh,
you,
as a matter of fact, yeah, Mark Meir runs a impromptu Dungeons and Dragons, and he was very interested in my Mind Flayer cosplay. And a buddy of mine's pretty tight with Mark, and there's a slim chance that you might see my Mind Flayer up on stage with me in it, and my buddy in a beholder costume. We still have to talk to Mark and see if we're going to be allowed.
That's awesome.
so do you think trying this out at a convention or what, like Dragon Con or CT or something, is a good place to test out the waters for some folks?
Sure. I think if you're just running a quick 2 to 3 hour one shot, I think that's a great place to do it.
I got a question for you, Max, with the one shot. Have you ever done a one shot that was a one shot? Because everyone I've been involved in have been 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah. I had a one shot that I ran with a couple of friends with my present group, and they're like, "That was great. I love this. We should do it again." And then we did a 1 session follow up that was supposed to have 2 more parts, and we didn't.
Oh, yeah, I did a Christmas one as an introductory one with some friends, and it was supposed to be done in one evening, and it took us 3 game sessions.
Right, yeah. That ended up being a long day for us, mainly because I was fumbling with the combat a bit. I'm a lot better now.
Yeah, this was just new people, and I was figuring we could fit it in like 3.5 hours or something like that, and it didn't work out.
Right.
We did one shot with Max leading, and
Yeah.
it was good. But I know that's to the point, like, can we throw our dice in jail? All of them?
Yeah, that was a bad
Like,
night for me.
everyone had bad rolls. Like,
That guy had bad rolls, you had bad rolls, I had bad rolls.
I was like, what?
What are we doing wrong?
So now you understand the glee of me that night that I had 5 natural 20s in one game session, and it was only a 3-hour game session.
Oh.
And at one of them was, I'm shooting 2 arrows, and he goes, "Okay, roll them." So I threw 2 20-siders into my dice roller, and both of them came up 20. And I took my camera. I go, "Look at this, guys! Look at it. I'm not shitting you." Both of them simultaneously came up 20.
Wow.
And then after the game, they said something to me, and I made some kind of smart-ass comment. And the DM goes, "Okay, I'll allow it, but you got to roll for it." And I forgot, and I was going to be some nasty repercussions if I failed. And I threw another natural 20. That's when the guy's like, "Oh my God, go play the lottery." I go, "Well, it ends at 9 o'clock. We're at 10 o'clock at night now."
Yeah.
Go find a gas station.
But yeah, but the lottery Illinois lottery ends at 9 o'clock at night. So.
All right.
It would have been next day, but still, yeah, like, oh my God, unbelievable.
Stay Nerdy is like, remember the library incident in my game, Carol? Oh. So it was just a simple roll for it, Because we had one character, this was set in the 1940s, so, light up a cigarette in the library. So the librarian was like, "No, not in my library." And went to smack their hand, like, no. So we made them roll. We basically started the library on fire.
Nice.
Oh, jeez. Good job.
And then my character going, wait, 1940s, professor, I go to grab the sand. He made me roll.
Uh-oh.
So we put out the fire with the bucket of sand, but also threw the sand on everyone else.
Must have been a big bucket of sand. It takes a lot of sand to put out a decent-sized fire. You need that horn of never-ending water.
So,
The horn
yeah,
of the sewers.
the librarian basically set the library on fire.
Good job.
Lovely.
Inadvertently. Yay, rolls. So, speaking of, that's another trope. Dice jail. We talked about dice towers and other stuff. Dice jail. How important is it to you?
Yes.
I don't have a jail. I have made them. One of our players has a custom-made dice tower that his wife commissioned, and it's actually his character is standing on the dice jail, smashing a mimic with a big pickle barrel, because our group had this thing for pickles. We did all kinds of crazy stuff with pickles. And to make it even stranger, his character looks like Ulysses S. Grant. So you got Ulysses S. Grant standing on this small jail behind a mimic treasure chest with this big pickle barrel, smashing him with it, and you drop the dice into the pickle barrel.
Oh my
And it comes off the side of the mimic. And if the dice roll bad, you put him in the jail under the character.
That is amazing.
Well, you name it, I'll build it.
Wait, Aaron has a set of pickle dice?
Ooh.
Oh.
Awesome.
I love that.
Our group's name is actually the Pickle Posse, because we never found a group name. And I actually have a shirt I played some of the nights we play, and it's green with a big pickle on it. It says, "I'm kind of a big dill."
Oh my god. That is the best thing ever.
Yes. So yeah, we are the Pickle Posse.
I love that.
We've like baited traps, set off traps. Like almost everyone we meet, we give them a pickle. There's 2 bags of holdings, each have a barrel of pickles in them.
See, my bag of holding only
Started
keeps the
as a
stuff
joke
from the
in beginning
thief.
of the game, and year and a
It
half.
always starts as a joke and then it spirals out of control.
Yep.
Aaron, as a lifelong fan of Richard Scarry, I approve. See, my bag of holding we just use to keep stuff from our thief.
Oh, well, you don't want to go in our bard's bag of holding, who just crawled into it just this game session because he won't be at the next game session. But we were surprised because he actually emptied his bag of holding, and we referred to it as the bag of corpses.
Oh jeez.
Almost anything we kill, he puts in the bag of holding. And as odd as that sounds, it's actually saved our lives a few times. Like when we met the Etten at the pass in the mountains, and we fed it the wings of a succubus. And it was like a delicacy for them, and we got through with no fighting. Just like, oh, thanks, guys. And they let us through. You know,
Well-
exchanged various things for various things. But it was funny when he put the tentacles from a beholder in there, and he'd open the bag up, and he'd have to roll a savings throw because one of them was still shooting magic.
That sounds like something our DM would make us do.
Oh yeah, it was like just start pointing your bag of holding at stuff and just open it.
Although, yeah, our thief just likes to pilfer everything we kill.
Yeah.
The paladin isn't happy about that.
Yep.
My ranger used to be the group's thief, and then we actually picked up a thief, but I'm actually more proficient at some of this stuff than he is. With a 20 dex and took thieves' tools as a feat, so it's a +10 to pick a lock.
I still love the one time our thief had trouble opening the lock. Kept trying. I'm like, let me borrow those tools. And I think that's one of the times I rolled a nat 20. Like, click. Oh, this. I loosened it for you. But I don't know if I was more excited with the character to character or player to player that I beat them.
Good job.
Because it was like that. Like, we were playing virtually, and even though we didn't have video up, I could tell in their voice, like,
This wizard is on my last nerve.
oh, yeah.
Now, I was just glad that our group had an artificer because I had broken my lock picks because I rolled a 1 picking a lock. And the artificer goes, hang on a second. You made me a new set. There you go.
Oh, Nitchick has renewed Hydration Roulette. So, to play this Hydration Roulette,
And
we play a bit of Buzzed. It's a game.
Okay.
It's technically a tabletop game. It's for keeping friends hydrated. It's what it says, hydrated.
Okay.
Even though it says Buzz, it's hydrated. So, there's a lot of cards. We'll take some of the cards, shuffle them up, and then if the card relates to you, you have to have some water. And also for our audience, if it relates to you, please be honest and have some water.
Okay, here we go.
oh, you can't see it because the got my big jug of water.
All right? Have some water. If you've been to a casino, have 2 things of water if you lost money. They're all like, slurp, slurp, slurp.
Everyone loses money at a casino. Come on.
That's why you go.
As I tell people, you think they built that place on giving money away?
Stay nerdy's never been to a casino? Okay, next time you're in Rosemont or what, we'll fix that.
Yeah.
Teach you how to play roulette. I got a nice Stetson from playing roulette because I won a little money and I walked away and bought myself a Stetson that I'd never been able to afford.
Nice.
There you go. Does it count if I tossed $5 in a penny slot machine and didn't win? Yes. Yes, it counts.
Wow. It's a lot of pennies. 500 pennies and no wins.
It happens. Ironically, I think that was in Canada during Yoma. I'm going to say, I think the first time Nitchick went to a casino was with myself, my parents, and the folks from the Catholic school. Oh, cool. Thank you, Aaron. Send a photo of the pickle dice to Kay for him to send to you. Excellent. And I will probably share with Laird and Max because, we need to now.
So she's got pickled dice, you said?
Yes.
Awesome.
Or pickle dice. Pickle dice.
Pickled dice.
Pickle
They make
dice.
They make all kinds of crazy dice now. They got dice with duckies inside them if you
I
want.
know. I have to have them.
I sent you some dice already.
I know. I got purple dice.
Yes, I know. It was kind of a thing I had with another friend, and I had to beat her on it, but you benefited from it.
Yes, because they found out I didn't have really any dice after the fire and stuff, and then the one had found purple dice. I'm like, I need purple dice, and then became a thing, and it's like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, because another friend was going to buy her dice. I'm like, no, I'm doing it first.
Max has it. Picture the pickle dice now. Because Kay has joined the chat.
Woohoo!
Dang it, we need to stop talking about our thieves.
Oops.
Yes, and Nitchick picked me up some dice that are blue and purple and glow in the dark.
Oh, very good.
But I haven't been able to see them glow in the dark because usually by the time we get them lit and I want to see them glow in
Okay,
the dark.
I got a question. What good are glow-in-the-dark dice? How often do you play in the dark? How are you going to see your character sheet?
That's true.
Valid point.
I guess they're for when the power goes out.
It's like I was looking at new glasses today. I needed new frames, and I'm on Zenny. And they have these glasses that are normally kind of like clear, but in the dark, the frames glow green. I'm like, that's different.
Okay, I kind of want that.
Go to
I don't
Zenny. They're not expensive. Their frames are pretty cheap there. Zenny.com.
Not a
You'll be there
sponsor.
forever. They have hundreds
Unless they
and
want to
hundreds of frames.
sponsor us, then for sure.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think I'd say no at this point. But yes. If there's any questions from the chat, please do so. So, okay, here's a question. What do you think of all the specialty dice compared to just regular old dice? Do you think sometimes it's better, worse?
There's definitely an industry for it.
It's a niche thing. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a dice goblin. I love all the colors and whatever. And, I seem to still play with some of my oldest dice because they seem to roll the best. I have some from the original box set that they came out with when they had version 1.
Wow.
And we refer to those as marbles because the plastic they were made out of slowly chips away and the corners start coming off. So I have a couple of 20-siders that are damn near round.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
And I have some that were 0 through 9 twice, and they came with a crayon, and you had to take the crayon and color in the numbers on one half of it, so you call which is high and which is low.
Oh,
So when you
wow.
roll them- Oh yeah. But my friends have some of these cool dice. Like my buddy has, it's more of a spinner for picking locks. It looks like a lock, and you put the key in it, and you spin it, and then while it's spinning, you take your finger and you pull the key down, and it'll reveal a number.
Those are so cool.
Oh yeah, he's got some crazy 4-siders that look like daggers and all this other stuff. They have all these specialty dice, as you said.
Oddfellow's like, ooh, I've been in the chat for some time. I rolled well on my stealth check. I'm the queen of thieves, remember? And also,
Damn it.
Max, show off your dice bag!
It's in my bag. It's under a pile of laundry. I can't get to it right now.
Ha!
The problem is too, you got the virtual background up, and it's like here's my drinking, my drinking.
Yeah,
mug.
that's the thing.
You can't see it.
Although the background looks kind of cute. Oh!
It does.
Stay nerdy. Brush up your Shakespeare.
And it depends on how close I am to the camera, how much how big I am.
It's like now you're both
Like-
doing it like like a little dance here. Dee, 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 dee.
Can't do that. My neck's too stiff. I'm about to hit my head on that rock over there.
Oh, let me pull up my Shakespeare. Now I have to recite Shakespeare.
Uh-oh. Romeo, wherefore art thou?
Etc. Etc.
Yes. Yorick, I knew him well.
Da, 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 da. Which one shall I do? Which one shall I do?
So while she's figuring that out, Max, when you DM, do you do voices for your characters?
I try to. Mostly, it's some variation on an English or Irish accent. Although it can be fun to play like older characters, because every time I try to do an old person voice, my players just crack up.
Well, there you go.
Hey, who's that over there? Hello, hello.
That's part of the fun of it. It's like my wife, before she started playing with our group, and like I said, it's a Zoom group, and I always have the grid up where you can see all the players' faces. And she used to just sit next to me just to watch all the weird faces our DM made and the crazy voices he would do.
Yeah. That's the best way to make your NPCs memorable, is give them a funny voice.
We got stuck in this time loop in this one town where we had to learn how to milk flumps. And we came back, no matter what we did, if you walk out of the town, you come back in on the other end of the town. It was like a tesseract. And we probably spent a game session and a half in this damn town trying to figure out how to get out. And we kept killing the one character because the DM was doing Pee Wee Herman's voice for him. And he was just out annoying.
Oh my god.
So we'd kill him and go, okay, that's the secret to get out of here. We got to kill him. So we'd kill him, and we'd try to leave. We'd come back, and he's there again. It's like we must have killed him a dozen times.
Oh boy.
But I do have the instructions written down on how to milk a flump now.
So, okay, Shakespeare. Then we'll get back to this. Orsino from Twelfth Night. If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken and so die. That strain again! It had a dying fall. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving odor. Enough! No more! 'Tis not so sweet now as it was before. Oh, spirit of love, how quick and fresh art thou, that notwithstanding thy capacity receiveth as the sea, not enters there. Of what validity and pitch soar, but falls into abatement and low price, even in a minute. So full of shapes is fancy that it alone is high fantastical. There you go.
Very deep.
Hashtag deep.
Okay, let's see. Oddfellow. Max says the king of dice bags. Aaron, I have half the Star Wars books and Shakespeare. Now, Star Trek and Shakespeare. I never put Star Wars or Shakespeare. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a book series for that. It's super interesting.
But have you ever read Shakespeare in the original Klingon?
Quite wonderful. Oddfellow. Max DMing does show off their Monty Python upbringing.
Shut up.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Come on.
Yes.
My mother used to hate the fact me and my younger brother used to watch Monty Python because she said we talk like them then.
Ooh, Aaron says, my DM continually does this slow, low, whispery voice for everyone. And it's like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Sure.
Actually, my favorite one is, and I'm not allowed to play him anymore, and an alternate game is, I had an arcane archer who was basically Master Roshi, and I would do Master Roshi's voice.
Oh, dear.
Yes, it was fun.
I've been playing on maybe doing a voice for our upcoming campaign with my character. But I don't know if I can do, like, German and stuff continuously.
Practice.
So, it might be fun. I don't know.
Our barbarian is Helga Hammersmith, and she always does it with a German accent.
Nice. Apparently, Nitschik owns the Klingon language Hamlet, though.
There you go. That does not surprise me. Go MJ.
Who's surprised?
Nobody.
What about Shakespearean D&D campaign?
Oh gosh.
Where you take different characters from the different plays.
Ooh.
Why not?
That might be interesting.
If it were me, I would feel pressure to like talk in this overly flowery language and try and keep up
But what for do we
the
now?
veneer.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you'll all end up sounding like Yoda.
Yep. Exactly.
Jedi strong, Jedi good. Take you to him, I will.
Aaron, now that we've all brushed up on
Romeo.
Shakespeare, I need to go listen to Something Rotten, because that song is all stuck in my head. And Nitschik is like, do it, Carol. You know you want to do the voice.
Yes.
Oh. Oddfellow. If you do the accent, I'll stick to my character's voice, too. Oh.
Uh-oh.
That's tempting. Okay, do you ever get, like, do you as players and even DMs egg each other on sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you
That's
like
how things get funny.
Now, do you prefer it? Do you like it? Or is there sometimes it's like, listen, dude, stop.
I gotta say, when I was doing the bad Viking voice for Varys the Ranger, I had to stop because it was annoying other players. And I wouldn't do it steady. I'd be in and out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good to have like a pre-established set of things that you don't want to do in roleplay. That can be part of like the session 0 or whatever. Just like things you don't want to bring up in terms of story elements or where you want to cut things off or what things you don't want to do in terms of where the story goes, etc., etc. And I think that's good to have those sort of limits. But yeah, I think if it's funny and everyone's having a good time, then sure.
And what
Well,
about...
It's important to be mindful that maybe it's not funny to everybody.
exactly. That's why I gave up the weird voice I was doing for Varys, because it was grating on some people.
Now, sometimes some of the storylines can get a little serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I am all for that there is laughter in sadness and sadness in happiness. It's slice of life. Do you prefer to set the ground rules when it comes to some serious things, depending how far you're... Like, is it going to be a PG-13 story, R-rated story?
Right.
Do you like to set that early on, or do you kind of sometimes see maybe where it's going and then maybe have a moment like, hey guys, I have a feeling this might go this way. How do you feel?
I think if you're just sort of deciding something in the moment, like, hey, would everybody be cool if I did this, then that's good. Otherwise, I don't think you need to necessarily assign it a rating.
I agree. Kind of tailored to your audience to begin with.
And, well, I know that there was one I did where part of the thing was the characters were going mad. And madness. And so one character...
Well, madness can also be like a status effect, so...
Yeah. And one character kind of sacrificed themselves, shall we say,
Okay.
to basically save the world, that kind of thing.
I see.
They did the Iron Man thing in a way.
Gotcha.
But it was a wow with the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that the DM did check up on all of us and stuff. How do you feel with something like that, if it's really going into the storyline?
Oh yeah, I think if you're having like a big emotional moment, yeah, absolutely.
I can't say I've ever been involved in a game where there was a huge emotional moment like that, but if you really believe that the characters playing this from the heart and putting a piece of themselves into it, I would say, yeah, out of game, I would definitely check on them and go, you okay?
Mm-hmm.
You need a friend? Yeah. Do we need to go have a drink?
I know that the DM also checked up with the rest of us, like, are you okay with what played out, like, hey.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, it's like weird, like all of us had a feeling that's where it was going.
Right.
Like, there's one of a couple ways we're going to get out of this alive. So it's like, that not surprising, but oh god. Oh. So, what is... I just had a thought in my head. And what was it? I just lost it. Hold on. Anybody else have a question? Oh, goodness. I just blanked.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Yeah. Bye, Stay Nerdy.
You'll find it again.
Thanks for
Welcome
Jumping
to
in.
old age.
Yeah. 500 stories running through you. But no, I guess we might consider wrapping this up, unless anybody else has some questions. But so, what do you think is the essential RPG starter pack for someone?
I think 5e is the best place to jump in. It's very accessible.
Yeah, I agree. 5e. I had to when I broke off running games. I was at the third edition, and I hadn't really played much between there. I had read some of the fourth, and I played a little bit of Pathfinder, or tried playing some Pathfinder with friends, which is 3.5. 5e, once you get your head around it and forget about THAC0, it is so much more user friendly. I have a D&D friend that I used to love playing with, but they refused to learn 5e. They're stuck on 3.5, and
I learned on 3.5. It's very hard to unlearn that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, okay, they made it too complicated. They tried to make it more versatile, but in doing so, they made it more cumbersome.
Yeah.
Where 5e is very versatile without being cumbersome.
Yeah.
Okay. I know third-party things like D&D Beyond have helped. Someone like me set up stuff because it's free and it's not like I have to put, when you're first learning, like, we put so much money into something that it helps give you kind of an idea. What do you think about some of these third-party?
I think, yeah, it helps to make this kind of thing more accessible, especially in the online world. And everyone who's coming into this is probably doing it for the first time. And there's a lot of great resources out there for people who are just getting into this. And really, you have the power of Google is what's going to help you along the way.
I agree. I've got all the books. I like having the hard copy books, but in the pinch in a game, I need something quick. I will open a tab and Google it instead of trying to dig through the book. I'd rather have the books if I'm going to sit and casually research to put a character together or research what I'm going to do in an upcoming game. But in the heat of a moment, yeah, Google. And D&D Beyond is just being bought out by the people who own Dungeons and Dragons. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of it from there. And another third-party website I like is called fastcharacter.com. And you can go in there and give it all this different information and hit a button and here's your whole character. You can tell it different ways you want it to roll the dice. You can pick your background, you pick your character, you pick all this stuff, and it puts it together. Even if you want it all 100% randomly generated, it'll do it. And it's cool because then you can just print it out and go, here's my character sheet.
Interesting.
So I've been using that for some stuff. Yeah, it's just fastcharacter.com. Real easy to remember.
That's kind of cool.
It's got access.
Great for NPCs and stuff too.
Oh yeah, well it will even reference on the side where the information came from for that portion. It'll tell you what page of which book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Aaron says, I am learning in the moment. I still have no idea what's going on, which is fine in my tiny circle. But I fear trying to go outside of it because I know I'm clueless. Thoughts? Advice?
I think there's also good resources on places like YouTube, which has a lot of like tutorials for people who are just getting into this. Like I know the Critical Role, I think it was Critical Role. Yeah, it was Critical Role that did like Handbook or Helper, like
Yes.
like short videos detailing parts of the manual that might need a little more elaboration. And that's great, especially if you're getting into a new class or a new race that you're not familiar with.
Actually, besides them, one of the other ones that I really like is the guy is younger guy out of Canada, and his site on YouTube's called XP to Level 3.
Mm.
Or just Google, so you want to be a barbarian, or so you want to be a cleric, or whatever, and he's got a quick 5-minute run through of what you need to do and what you to expect. And those, I point people at those all the time. They're awesome. It gives you a good synopsis and the strengths and weaknesses of the character, and he's always amusing.
That's
But
cool.
he's been around a long time. The Dungeon Dudes are pretty good to listen to as well. As I said, I'm not a strong reader, so I will YouTube a lot of stuff while I'm working on building cosplays and listen to it. It's where I heard that how to build a god killer at level 2, which I described earlier.
Very cool.
Nitchick. I had no idea what I was doing when I got pulled into Pathfinder ages ago. But our DM was great with helping me understand how to create my character and how the whole thing worked, with how to roll a new character when poor Fidget got skewered and eaten.
Poor Fidget.
We hardly knew you.
That's what happened when the party got
What
separated.
was a Fidget?
Fidget was their character who was a druid? No.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was like a familiar or a companion.
No, Fidget was the character. And got skewered and eaten by a boar.
And
Hate it when that happens.
There's another
A
thing
druid gnome.
there's another thing that's good for a character to have is a animal companion, say like a Saint Bernard or something, because in the newer tomes, they can level up along with you, and they can also carry up to 90 pounds of equipment.
Ooh.
Besides being a extra fighting person.
Yeah, I found that out. I have a find a familiar and an unseen servant. Which, let's pick up the thing of you. Make the servant. And now I have my dragon. Who starts...
Unless you want to play a Githsari, because they have just psionic ability of being able to do the magic hand. All of a sudden, it just escapes me. Every magicer uses them to manipulate things.
Mage hand.
Mage hand, thank you. But their mage hand's invisible.
Odd fellow.
Yes.
You
and
mean...
they don't need to do anything but think about it to make it happen. They get about 6 spells that they just do from their minds. And Githsari is a playable class along with Githyanki.
Okay. And Oddfellow has to bring in... You mean Fidget, the druid that got eaten by a wild animal? Yeah, Nitchick. Yes, poor Fidget that went into the dungeon alone. The rolls were not on their side that day.
Nope. And you will have those days, but don't get discouraged.
This is why you never name your pets. Otis, my horse, disappeared. I got a griffin as a mount. Like for this upcoming battle, in the very first battle, I call him into because I was going to climb on his back and rain arrows from the air. Before I can even get to him, one of the demons killed him.
Oh no!
Yes. Someone said you shouldn't have named him. I said, I didn't name him. The DM named him. Named him POTUS.
Nitchick, my dice were in jail for a month.
Have they learned their lesson?
Yes.
I think so. But yeah, so don't be afraid to get out there. And sometimes, even if you are that...
There are resources available to you.
There are resources. It's a quick Google.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, if you're playing with someone, they're not like, no phones! Just don't be playing all the time. Be like, I'm looking it up! What do I need to do? So, yes. Don't be afraid.
I don't do the no phones thing when we're playing the game, but I do get annoyed with people who are obviously just doing their Facebook or, checking their Snapchat or, doing other things and looking things up for the game. Because
don't use your phone to look up your enemies. That's called metagaming, and I do not encourage that.
Yes,
So,
yes. We go back to your character knows it doesn't mean, just because you know it doesn't mean your character knows it.
What do you think of metagaming? Especially,
Don't do it.
Do you ever find yourself starting to do it like, well, we don't have a healer yet. and stuff.
Oh no, I've done stupid things just because my character has only got an 8 intelligence, and his character doesn't know about that, even though I do, and I
Mhm.
kind of knew what the results are going to be. But this is what my character would have done, so I did it.
Sure.
Okay. Do you sometimes find yourself going, no, I know that they don't.
Right.
I know that they don't. Dang it, I wish they knew that.
And I think that's the DM's job to create something unexpected also, because if you think, oh, we're going to a cave, we'll probably run into some goblins or whatever, and there's something there that you're not expecting, that's almost better.
We'll have the goblins, but then we'll have those spider things
Right.
that were the size of the...
Yeah.
Spiders, dungeon crab, we eat them.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Our bard loves dungeon crab. I go, you realize those are spider legs? Oh, they're so tasty though.
You have to balance phone usage, no gaming and not paying attention, and suddenly your turn and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Pay attention.
That's very annoying to a DM and the other players.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I want to say is, to the players, is you don't realize how much time some of the DMs spend prepping that game and coming up with the ideas for the game and getting it all so it'll work.
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I thought that's how to turn your group against you, not just your DM.
Mm-hmm.
And how you don't get invited back
Also,
to
if
groups.
you're having fun, just let everybody know, because it's good to get that feedback.
At the end of every game night, you know. So, what did you guys think? Is there points you liked, points you disliked?
Yeah.
Leave yourself that 10, 15 minutes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to text them either if you're that kind of friend, like, dude.
What? What
Oh,
was
my
that?
wife-
Sometimes even the gifts.
So
Sometimes
she'll text the DM going, okay, I'm going to secretly do this, this, and this.
Ah.
Yes. And so her character is interesting the way she plays it, because her character is a moron, but also a big, strong moron, because many can't count
Best
and many
kind.
can't read, takes her boot off and dumps it out. How many monies is this? And the bard always takes advantage of that. She goes, they're just shiny things. She goes, I can't kill anybody with shiny things. So the artificer made her boots of holding, where she has small pouches around her boots to put her stuff in. But she has a pouch belt. And I've encouraged people out of game before, but they always forget. It says, find out what Ameni's got in her pouches. She's got a list of everything that's in her pouches, and the DM has a copy of the list, where she's like a magpie. Bits of shiny pottery, because it had a pretty flower on it. Scraps of this, scraps of... There's nothing but garbage in her pouches.
oh my gosh.
Anything of importance, she stuffs in her boots.
I love that.
Yes, and she's like... And at one point, we're now at this huge battle. And at one point in the game, we came across these purple stones, which amplifies spell effects by 5.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Guess what the magpie did? And never told anybody. He's like, a couple of the characters picked up 1 or 2. She had 6 of them in her pouch.
Jeez.
She didn't know what they were. She couldn't use them because she doesn't. Cause she's a fighter barbarian. So, as we're planning how we're going to go into this battle and everything, shiny rocks help. I seen one of you guys use shiny rock before. Shiny rock help, and she holds out 6 of them, and all the magic users look at her and their mouth drop. Where did you get those? Me have for a while. They're pretty.
I love that. That's perfect.
Oh.
Oh yeah. And the woman's very intelligent in real life. I mean, Carol and MJ.
That is the perfect blend of character and meta knowledge. Like
Oh, yeah.
you can use player knowledge,
Yeah,
but you have
so-
to be careful about it.
Oh yeah. It's funny, but they're like. So she's going to the DM secretly. Okay, I'm doing this and this. As people walk away, and she was just a magpie collecting garbage.
I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
I find the DM is important. Like, don't be afraid to be friends with your DM and ask them questions. First of all, they will answer. Poor Zach has had
They
to
want-
answer
they
so
want
many
you to
things
have
for
fun.
me. Like, okay, if I do, what, this, But also, I know with Zach and with Andy and stuff, like, one thing is with the one Andy did, like, for us to get things beyond our role, we had to tell him as DM, well, why would you have that? Like, an archaeology professor would not have weaponry. And I go, I want a dagger. But why? Well, first of all, I served in World War II. I'm a female going away from my family. I was the oldest of my family who came from Ireland and whatever. Do you think a father is going to send their daughter away to another state who grew up in Chicago with the ne'er-do-wells and not send her armed?
Have you not watched Raiders of the Lost Ark?
But I mean, like, no, but you know, like, do you think he's going to send his only daughter off to college and whatnot and war and not send her armed? Somehow.
Sure.
And her family owned a restaurant. She knows how to use a knife. He's like, all right, you
Yeah, come up with a reason that makes sense.
go ahead. And
You
guess
can
what?
gut a fish.
And it came in handy when we needed to break into the because we just used this dagger to kind of
What was your setting you were playing in?
1940s New England, 1947.
Oh, okay. That's different.
So there was I actually had her backstory being in the war because the U.S. government used archaeologists and stuff to actually get into other countries, to learn about other cultures and get to know them better, and also as a front
Cool.
for getting some countries during World War II on a, educational trip,
To smuggle the German scientists out.
among other things. So she wanted to help. She couldn't fight, even though she knew she had brothers and grew up in Chicago, and right? But she couldn't actually fight. Didn't want to be a nurse, so she was educated and used that.
And if I may, real quick here, you don't have to be the most powerful character in the game to enjoy the game. A good example is our bard. He's almost useless in a fight, but he adds so much color to the game, and he had such a good time playing this character. And we make fun of him because he's become Captain Kirk in some ways, because in every battle he does his minor attack and then dives and rolls to try to hide somewhere.
And
So
bards
it's-
can heal too.
Yes, he can, but he's rarely ever done it. He does inspiration. He has a gazer. It's become his pet that he carries around, and the gazer does more fighting than he does. But yeah, a lot of random spell effects and whatever, because he's got some hand that a devil cursed, and he can cast magic with it, but it's wild magic. He never knows what's going to happen when he uses it.
Wild magic is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, my new character is going to be... No, I take it back. No, I didn't do that. I was one of the ones I was researching was going to be wild magic. I went with the Satyr Paladin instead.
Oddfellow asks, what do folks think about characters that are not really useful in battle, proficient in non-combat situations like that?
Sure. Having a class that's more of a utility than an asset in combat is good. The struggle then becomes as a DM to create a situation where they would be useful.
Right. I mean, because they can aid the party in other ways. If they're like a cleric who can basically just heal and not fight, artificers can build things. And with 5th edition, there's so many different skill sets and tools you could have. So they can be very useful as just like an aid to the party. And they can add a lot of color to it as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, timing. See, great minds think alike.
Yes.
But yeah. So, I think this has been fun. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
If you guys want. Before we think of heading out, any last questions from anyone? And do you guys have any advice, little tips, things like you should always bring to a battle or whatever?
Never bring a knife to a gunfight.
Bring a potion anywhere you go.
Yeah, healing potions. Very important. No matter what your class or how strong you are, healing potions.
And not always for yourself, as I have found.
Yes.
It depends on the character. Is the character's personality selfish? Whether egocentric and just worried about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're secretly evil.
Ooh.
Remember, evil's not stupid, guys, and nor is lawful good.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
There you go.
And I can say from a stout halfling size does not always matter. Stout halfling wizard, come on. I had to.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh yeah, one of our most important players is our halfling. He's our druid, a cleric / druid. Saved our butts many times.
Yep. So, I hope you had fun. I hope our audience had fun. And I want to just remind you guys to be kind to yourselves, because sometimes we're our own worst critics.
Mm-hmm.
And also, that love, that kindness inside of yourselves is a very renewable commodity. You don't even need a long rest. It's still there, and it's there to be shared. And I know the world could use a little bit more of it these days. And tip your cleric.
Tip your bard.
Yes.
Bardic inspiration.
All right. Well, I want to thank Laird and Max for joining us today. And our others, Andy and Zach, were not able to make it, but we will have them on for another time. Some other fun stuff.
Cool.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was really fun.
Yeah.
I thought so. Have some fun together. So
Yeah.
it was good to see everyone. And in case you are wondering, just don't forget, I am looking forward to seeing you here again very soon. So we're going to head off and see if there's anybody we can raid. Raiding party.
Ready to
Go raiding.
Let's see. Who are we going to raid with the stabby duck? Yes, we're going to go raid our friend Mel.
Does she have cookies?
I think she's crafting right now.
Cookie, me want cookie.
So yes, say hi to Mel for us.
Bye.
Hi, Mel.
Alright, we are raiding. Bye everyone.